Welcome to 5 after midnight. I'm watching you. One.
I was 16 years old and walking home from work late at night when this guy pulls up beside me in his car and starts asking me questions. Like, do you live around here? Where are your parents? His questions got more personal, and he started to ask me questions like what school I went to, where I worked, etc. Then out of nowhere, he says, "You're a really brave girl for being out here alone this late. You know, I'd really like to fuck you." I was scared shitless, and I didn't know what to do. Then he said, "I'll be right back," and then he drove off. Once he left, I started bolting the rest of the way home, thinking he'd come back and rape me and kill me if I didn't make it home quickly enough. Sure enough, he swerved back a few minutes later and saw me running. He pulled up closer to me and began screaming at me to get in his car. I just kept running as he trailed me, and I ended up hurrying into a 24-hour store and calling my dad for a lift. But unfortunately, my dad was just really annoyed that I'd woken him up, and he didn't care at all about what was happening to me. Later on, I felt stupid for disclosing so much personal information to a stranger, and now I realize he only trying to gauge my vulnerability. I was terrified he'd track me down for a bit, but I never saw him again. At least I think.
Two.
When I was about 6 years old, I went to this seedy carnival that was set up in a mall parking lot with my dad and my grandma. We were waiting in line for the infamous pirate ship ride. My dad decided to get out of the line to go and get us some drinks. Maybe about 5 minutes later, a man grabs my hand and says, "Come on, this line's too long," and starts leading me away. I remember my grandma yelling after me, "Mel, that's not your father!" I looked up and saw this man who was wearing a matching pair of faded denim jacket and jeans, cheap NASCAR sunglasses, and a firefighter's mustache. When he saw that my grandma was screaming at him to let me go, he let go of my hand and vanished into the crowd. We ran around and found these police officers that were standing by their cars, and they said that they couldn't do anything and refused to even look for him. This incident actually bothered me for quite some time afterwards.
Three.
So I'm around 4 years old, and my mom takes me with her for some grocery shopping. She lets me walk around, but attempts to keep a close eye on me. Lo and behold, I decide to run off in search of some fruit roll-ups, those being my favorite candy at the time. I'm walking down an aisle, and this seedy-looking guy turns around and starts talking to me. "Hi there, son. Where are you headed in such a hurry?" Mind you, I'm paraphrasing what he said. It's too far back to remember exactly how it went. Anyways, he starts asking me questions. The first one being, "What's your favorite candy?" Of course, I let him know it's fruit roll-ups. So he says, "Can you help me pick one out for my daughter?" I say, "Sure," and he grabs my hand and walks me down the aisle and around towards another aisle. I remember this exactly because I made a comment regarding how there wasn't any candy in the aisle we were going down. Long story short, he is walking me around the store towards the exit, and my mom is freaking out. She runs to the help desk, or whatever the hell you call it, and tells them that her child is missing. The store goes on lockdown. The guy gets the hell out of there, and I don't remember much after that.
4.
I was about 12 years old. We were heading home through Branson, Missouri, after I had just spent a week at summer camp. I, having eaten a massive weekend feast, had to go to the bathroom, so we stopped at one of the outlet malls. As I'm rushing into the bathroom, I noticed this fat old guy kind of creepily looking at me and smiling. But fuck it, people are weird and I gotta go. So I rush in, quickly inspect the stalls for the cleanest one, and begin my ritual. About 30 seconds later, I hear the bathroom door open and some movement. I ignore it because people use the bathroom all the time. But something seemed off. I finish doing my business and notice there's a figure outside of my stall. I look at the crack between the door and see an eyeball. This dude was staring at me. I made eye contact. And then I just froze out of fear and began tearing up a little. He moved away from the crack, shuffled slowly into the next stall beside me. I began wiping very quickly. Then I see a hand slowly inching under the stall divider. I outright nearly begin to cry at this point. His hand makes this creepy as fuck come hither motion with his index finger. I've got goosebumps as I recalled this, by the way, when suddenly something just fucking snaps inside me. I stand up, fasten my pants, and proceed to stomp the ever-loving shit out of this motherfucker's finger. And then I ran, fast. When I got to my parents, I finally look back and see this creepy fuck hurriedly waddling out of the bathroom, clutching his finger. I used to visit the beach a lot with my mother when I was a child. Once, when I was 7 years old, we went to our favorite spot, and I went swimming while my mother stayed on shore, watching me. I love swimming in the ocean, and I was out there for a while before I noticed my mother waving me back to shore. I ignored her, naturally, as I was having too much fun and I wasn't ready to come out yet. I usually knew just how far I could push it before she really got mad. Well, after a few minutes, I look up and she looks really angry, frantically waving her arms. I got out and she was furious with me. She acted really strange and scolded me pretty harshly. I was seriously confused, and her mood was agitated and paranoid and pissed off for hours. It ruined our whole trip. Well, a few years ago, my mother finally came out with it. Apparently, while I was swimming, a man had approached her and asked her if I was her daughter. She proudly said yes, and he commented about how pretty I was. Well, before my mom could even see it coming, the man told her that I would be perfect for child porn, and that he could help her get me into it. He was apparently grinning ear to ear, talking about how sexy I was and how much money my mom could make. She had to think fast and remained calm, doing her best to politely turn him down without panicking or killing him on the spot, which, of course, she had an overwhelming urge to do. He tried to push, but eventually he gave up and walked away. That's when my mom started frantically waving me back into shore. She really should have told the police, but she just wanted us to get the fuck out of there, and she wasn't thinking clearly about anything else.